Friends star Matthew Perry has given his first tell-all interview in which he details how his drug and alcohol addictions secretly nearly cost him his life. The star, 53, revealed he was given just a 2% chance of survival after an opioid addiction caused his colon to burst when he was aged 49, leaving him in a coma for 2 weeks and spending months in hospital, a fact which his legions of fans were unaware of. After suffering from a gastrointestinal perforation, Matthew said he had to use a colostomy bag for 9 months, has now had 14 surgeries on his stomach in total and been to rehab 15 times in a bid to get clean. Now sober, the beloved actor, best known for playing hapless Chandler Bing, has detailed his decades-long battle to rid himself of the disease of addiction. When he was first admitted to the hospital, he said, "The doctors told my family that I had a 2% chance to live. I was put on a thing called an ECMO machine, which does all the breathing for your heart and your lungs. And that's called a Hail Mary. No one survives that." He told People, "I wanted to share when I was safe from going into the dark side of everything again. I had to wait until I was pretty safely sober, and away from the active disease of alcoholism and addiction, to write it all down. And the main thing was, I was pretty certain that it would help people." Talking about his starring role on Friends at age 24, his alcohol addiction was starting to surface. He said he could handle it, but he was entrenched in a lot of trouble by the time he was 34. He said there were years during that time in which he was sober, and in fact, he was sober throughout the whole of season 9, the year he got nominated for Best Actor. At one point during his Friends career, he admits he was taking 55 Vicodin a day and was down to 128 pounds, but yet he didn't know how to stop. He said the disease has got worse and worse and progressive, and has got older, and noted his friends' castmates were understanding, and they were patient. A constant battle, Matthew says. "I'm pretty healthy now." He is choosing not to say how long he has been sober for, but is counting each day. His stomach is covered in scars from his 14 surgeries and said they serve as a reminder to stay sober. He said his therapist has told him that he may have to have a colostomy bag for the rest of his life if he takes drugs again, which helps him to avoid relapsing. Matthew famously told the New York Times in 2002, 1 year after getting sober, "When fame happens, it's kind of like Disneyland for a while. For me it lasted about 8 months, this feeling of I've made it, am thrilled, Terry's no problem in the world. And then you realize that it doesn't accomplish anything, it's certainly not filling any holes in your life. I didn't get sober because I felt like it. I got sober because I was worried I was going to die the next day." It's no accident that Chandler is a guy who is trying to deter his own human emotional feelings with laughter. "That's what I did for years. I've tried to palm myself off as being a jokester, kind of like hanging out with me is kind of like a vacation. But that could only take me so far." He said in a statement in 2011, "I'm making plans to go away for a month to focus on my sobriety and to continue my life in recovery. Please enjoy making fun of me on the World Wide Web." Speaking to The Hollywood Reporter in 2013, he said, "I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life and a lot of wonderful accolades. The best thing about me is that if an alcoholic comes up to me and says, 'Will you help me stop drinking?' I will say, 'Yes. I know how to do that.'" In 2021, the cast of Friends reunited on screen for the first time in 17 years after being delayed by a year due to the COVID pandemic. After being delayed a year due to the coronavirus pandemic, the cast of Friends reunited for the first time on screen in 17 years. Ben Winston, who directed Friends, the reunion, said of those commenting on Perry's appearance during the HBO Max special, "He was great. People can sometimes just be unkind. I wish they weren't. I loved working with him. He's a brilliantly funny man and I thought he had some great one-liners in the show. I felt just happy and lucky to be in his presence and directing him on something like this." After having his first taste of alcohol at the age of 13, he continued drinking and was prescribed opioids in 1997 to cope with the pain after suffering a jet ski accident. Speaking to People in 2013, he recalled taking his prescribed pills without question. "I did and I felt better than I ever felt in my entire life. I had a big problem with pills and alcohol, and I couldn't stop." He checked into rehab that same year in 1997, but said, "You can't have a drug problem for 30 years and then expect to have it solved in 28 days. Getting sober is a really hard thing to do." Matthew has documented his journey in a memoir, Friends, Lovers and the Big Terrible Thing, available November 1, detailing his journey.